Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and today I've got here, Baptism of Fire, of course, which is continuing to be a really big seller, and there's Cults of Chaos, which is an incredible random generator for all kinds of different enemy groups for your medieval campaign or your fantasy campaign. You can roll up an entire scenario, basically an entire adventure, or at least the core of the entire adventure in like minutes with this. Baptism of Fire, of course, is selling super well. Dark Albion Cults of Chaos is also a gold bestseller, I believe. And then there's the Gonzo Fantasy Companion. And here's the thing, the Gonzo Fantasy Companion is not as big of a seller as the other two. And I was thinking about this. It's kind of interesting that, I think I might have thought that there would be a lot of people that might not think of, my medieval authentic style as the sort of thing they'd be into. And yet, my medieval authentic books do sell much better than the Gonzo books, But I also know that my medieval authentic books sell better than anybody's Gonzo books for the most part, right? I mean, of course, some of them are bigger sellers in proportion, like DCC before they went woke were really big, and there's a few others that have done quite well, but on the whole, it's kind of funny because I would think that people would be more into weird fantasy as a rule. But then again, maybe it's that, the medieval authentic stuff is very exclusive to me, right? Like a lot of people can do weird fantasy, but only somebody with kind of my chops in history would be able to do the kind of medieval authentic books that I do. But regardless of that, the Gonzo Fantasy Companion is an incredible resource for adding some wild and weird and sometimes wacky stuff into your campaign, and I'd very strongly recommend that you check it out, because if you like all my random tables in Baptism of Fire, then you're going to love Cults of Chaos because it's right up that alley. You could definitely use it in a Baptism of Fire game. And the Gonzo Fantasy Companion is full of similar generators, but for all kinds of weird fantasy stuff, including fantasy races, mutant humans, intelligent animals, ancient complexes, tons of magic items, and pocket planes, and all kinds of other crazy stuff. So be sure to check out the Gonzo Fantasy Companion. It deserves some more attention than I think it's gotten. But all right, so today I'm talking to you about another subject in the gaming world that has popped up that I, at least as of the time of filming this, though I'm going to probably have to put it out a couple of days after I filmed it, had not yet garnered a lot of attention. There's apparently a new, I presume, I don't know, maybe it was around before, but it was very unknown, a new award for role-playing called the Crit Awards, and it is being presented this year at Gencon. Now, I'm going to be very careful here to say that I was not able to confirm. I looked very carefully at their website and all of this, and the award ceremony is happening in Gencon, during Gencon, right? But there was nowhere that I could see specifically to say that it's affiliated with Gencon as such, or that Gencon is specifically sponsoring it. I don't know if that's the case or not, because I'm not a big fan of Gencon either, right? But I want to make it clear that I don't want to suggest something that might not be the case, right? But regardless, the Crit Award is an award show that is for an awards ceremony, I guess, that is for indie RPGs, allegedly. Though it's really funny because I looked at the finalists in the different categories for this 2024 award, and there wasn't a single one of them that I could identify. They're all like basically trash products from itch.io, and it's not a surprise because their whole page is that they're big on talking about, these are awards that are given for avant-garde stuff that is happening, all that is also emphasized with diversity and all of that sort of thing, right? So it's everything you would expect. It's a super woke award ceremony. Now, as I said, I wonder if Gencon is associated with them. I don't know if they are, or if they've just like sold them the space, right, like they would to other people. But I do wonder if it is reflective of if what they have put in their website is reflective of Gencon's own policies. Because if it is, then that is something that is worthy of mentioning. And if it isn't, I wonder if Gencon has bothered to read the web page. Okay, because in this list they say for like in terms of, I believe this to understand what they've expressed here is that this is in terms of obviously the categories of the awards, right? So like if you're the nominees for these awards must fulfill these guidelines, but there's also a section that says people that don't fulfill the guidelines will be like thrown out of the award ceremony, right? There are these conditions, obviously, of being a nominee and apparently of attending this ceremony that is taking place in Gencon, right? And the Crit Awards conditions, a lot of them are what you would typically expect from what is obviously some kind of a ridiculous woke endeavor. It says no racism, sexism, homophobia, ableism, and all that is sort of to expect. And then it adds individuals who identify as Zionists promote promote Zionism or engage in activity that clearly supports Zionism is forbidden, right? So this is essentially an anti-Semitic. It's an anti-Semitic award ceremony happening in Gencon. All right, they've made a very clear statement there, and Zionism is just what the left calls. What the left says when they want to say that they hate Jews, right? We know this. This is a very well-established fact. And in fact, I would encourage all of you to check out the latest of the Monk debates where it had the debate on this very subject. And it was really beautiful. Douglas Murray wiped the floor with Mehdi Hassan in this debate where Mehdi Hassan and his partner were trying to claim that somehow a policy that suggests the elimination of Israel and the extinction of the Jewish people in Israel is not anti-Semitic, right? And Douglas Murray did an excellent job of utterly dismantling the guy. So it's worth checking out. Now, I know that for a lot of you, maybe you're not as concerned with this subject as I might be, which I see it as I'm not Jewish, right? But I see this this situation and the rise of open and incredibly aggressive anti-Semitism. I mean, just yesterday, shots were fired into a Jewish restaurant in Montreal, for example, and you're seeing examples of that kind of violence surging up everywhere, not in the Middle East, in the Western world, right? And this kind of aggression, and of course the uprisings that are taking place in these universities, all of which is being promoted by the anti-Semitic leftist establishment, and obviously being taken advantage of by literal terrorists, So I do see it as a problem, and I would think that you would, at the very least, see that this is a very questionable thing when you've got the biggest gaming convention in the hobby hosting an awards show that is explicitly anti-Jewish. It's absolutely disgusting. So that's mainly what I wanted to point out. Now, again, I don't know you would think, right, that Gencon would review what they're, even if they're not associating with them, they would review what the subject was. And, at the very least, Gencon should be asked, do you endorse this? Do you endorse this blatant anti-Semitism from this group of degenerate weirdos. And like if you go to their website, you can see exactly who these people are, and it will not surprise you in the very least. And it won't. Nothing about them will be surprising. It's a ridiculous thing. It's an award ceremony that means nothing because nobody knows any of these games. Like they're not one of them is something that I ever heard of before, right? So it's some kind of internal circle jerk, but it is only worth even mentioning. Like even if they were doing this somewhere else, if it was just some online thing, then even then they would be beneath mention, right? But the fact that they're doing it in Gencon itself, and I mean, I presume that a significant number of gamers in Gencon every year are literally Jewish, and they might want to know this. They might want to know that Gencon is hosting an award ceremony that is explicitly on the side of Hamas. Like that's an issue that people should know, right? So that was mostly what I wanted to say about these Crit Awards, and I think that someone should really get on to asking Gencon, do they actually endorse this garbage? And it's a disgusting, we all know that the left has been constantly attempting to politicize RPGs. But, now they've gotten to the point where they are openly promoting hatred of certain people, certain gamers, right, on the basis of their political ideology. And that's, and not hatred for anything they've done, but just for who they are, and that is a massive problem. So this is basically what I wanted to say about that today. I know this is going to be a shorter video than usual, but there's not much else. There's not much else to comment, right? Like there's no defense of this garbage, right? There's absolutely nothing that is redeemable in these people or the thing that they are doing, and I think that should be self-evident to just about everyone, that's something that. It would have been unthinkable, right? It would have been literally unthinkable even what? Maybe even 5 years ago, right? To say nothing of 10 years ago, right? It would, and I mean, Gencon has had a lot of issues for at least that long, but this, if they're tolerating this is a brand new low. This is like beyond the pale. So there you are. That's everything I wanted to comment about this. If you like this video, please hit like. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Check out all my products. Baptism of Fire, best-selling OSR RPG for 2 months now, basically. The Gonzo Fantasy Companion, Cults of Chaos, and check out all my other products in the list below. In particular, you should take a look also at the Pundit Files. The latest, by the way, if you've got Baptism of Fire, there is now the first supplement to Baptism of Fire is the latest issue of the Pundit Files. It is the Medieval City Guide to Poznan. And it has details about the city. It's got a little map. It has details about the neighborhood, its history, the neighborhoods, its history, adventure seeds, and an appendix about the mysterious magical oak wood that is very near to the city of Poznan. Again, all of it based on authentic history or mythology or legend, right? So be sure to check that out. Just like every other issue of the Pundit Files, you can check them all out. They're all in the Red Room store. The link is in the description below. The latest issue of the Pundit Files, just like all the others, costs about $3.50. So if you can get someone to give you $3.50, you can purchase the Poznan sourcebook, right? An entire medieval city guide. So, all right, that's everything for today. Currently smoking, still, the Nira Poker plus Argento Ruse.